Hi there. I recently ran a demo on a webinar that we had that I've had quite a few questions about. So I thought I'd do a quick recording of just the demo on its own, but I'll do end user view and then look at all the different moving parts because there are quite a few. But it's a Nintex Workflow Cloud, leveraging Dynamics CRM as my underlying content repository and case management, but there's also a little bit of Microsoft artificial intelligence thrown in there from the custom vision side. So without further ado, let's jump into the end user view and then we'll move in to how we actually put it together. So I'm going to start from Nintex Mobile. So I'm on my Samsung mobile device and I've got a Big Beer Co. Nintex mobile app that's been created through App Studio. So if I can click on the link there, that's going to bring me to my forms repository, and I can click on my stock return. Now the example here is for a beer company. Stock has been returned to the warehouse for various number of reasons, but they want to use a bit of artificial intelligence to actually streamline that process to make sure that what's being returned is one of their stock. So I'm going to choose a distributor here, Smith's Liquor, and that's going to pre-fill some of the information. Now that could be using a pre-configured rule, or it could be using a data sources lookup to another system of record. I'm going to scroll down here to my date of return, which is today. I'm going to pop in a batch number. Let's just make something up. And I'm going to scan a barcode of a beer bottle that I've got. So I've got a beer bottle here. Let's just scan the barcode, and that's actually going to look up our Dynamics CRM products list for that specific SKU or barcode. One bottle has been returned, the reason perhaps defective, and I'm actually going to take a picture of this bottle of beer because that's what we're going to use in custom vision to figure out if it's actually our beer or if it's somebody else's. Finally, I want my receiving staff to sign the form, and we're going to just submit. Let's jump to the outbox, make sure that disappears, and that's gone. So my workflow is now going to commence. It's going to start to work its way through Dynamics first and foremost, and then it's going to start leveraging that custom vision AI to figure out if that bottle of beer is actually one of ours or if it is to be rejected. So the first thing I want to look at is what's happening in Dynamics. So I'll open up Dynamics and I'm just going to drag this in. Got my products list here. Here's my beer products list. Product ID corresponds to the barcode that we scanned. So we're actually going to do a query within Workflow to bring in any other information that we need. Same applies to my accounts. And we've also got all that information within the account, so we can add this request or the service desk request or the case to this specific account. And then I've got my contact information for Diane as well to let them know that the return has been processed as and when that happens. I'm also going to go to my cases list here, and we should have a new case for the beer that has been returned. So let's take a look at the active cases view. I'm just going to create it by newest, and we should have a new return. So here's my new return. All the information that has been provided by the form has been uploaded, got my unique ID, my customer, so on and so forth. Defective product has been added to the description as well as the batch number and the quantity. So my first task has been received, or my first notification has been received, and it's popped there into my email. We received a completed beer return from, we're using that contact information and the account information. A return has been made in Dynamics and it will undergo valuation before credit note is issued. So that's gone to my warehouse manager, or it could be any email address in the world that we're able to send that notification to, and then we have a task. So that first task has come in, doesn't have to be somebody on the shop floor, but can you please approve the beer return from Smith's Liquor due to a defective product? The beer has been validated against our stock automatically, and I'll go through that custom vision side. An image is included for your reference. So this is the image of my beer, and I can reply with an approve or reject. So I'm just going to reply to the email using Nintex Express Approval, approve. So we're going to approve that return, and then that's going to carry on within the workflow, but it's also going to be able to update the case in Dynamics in the background. So I'll get another email just to say that it's been approved, and then we'll have a look at what the moving parts are in the background. We're also able to do things like update the status, things like in progress, so change the flag on that as well. Here's my return. This has gone to Diane at Smith's Liquor. The return dated XYZ has with units of the serial number, which all came in through that initial form, has passed validation, includes a picture. If this is incorrect, please contact your distribution manager. Thank you, the Big Beer Co. So let's take a look at the workflow in behind here. So it's doing a number of things in Dynamics, querying the account record, make sure that it exists. Now, if it does not exist, there's the ability to then add a create record. So if that account was maybe something that we free typed in, we could potentially add something like a run if true or a sort of false positive in there, run that, create that record in Dynamics. Dynamics will give us a new account ID back, and we can use that going forward. Same applies to the contact ID as well. So we're just querying Dynamics for that information and we're pulling that back in. Same applies to the product. So based on the barcode, if it exists, let's bring some more information back in about that specific bottle of beer. We're going to create the return. So that was where we created the case entity within Dynamics, and we're able to add all of those different field information into the Dynamics case. Now, if I click on add fields here, you see there's a lot more potential fields that I can match up with the variables running through Dynamics. And then we sent my first email. So we sent that first email out to whichever email address I choose. Doesn't have to be hard coded. That could be the email that's come back from my query of the contact perhaps, and send them that email. And then we get to the artificial intelligence part. So this scan beer image here is actually calling the custom vision service within Azure. So pretty clever piece of kit, this, and what we've done is we've taken that, built an extension through Nintex Extensions and uploaded that. So a quick look at the JSON that makes up the extension. Fairly straightforward, so it's calling the service, calling the security definition as well. In this case, it's just an API key that's been provided by Custom Vision, and then we've got the prediction URL. So if I jump up to Custom Vision here, I've got a project which is my beer bottle training resource. So these are all the bottles of beer that we produce at Big Beer Co. But then there are some negative tag images in there as well. So things that aren't my bottles of beer, because we have to differentiate the tag. So what I've done, you have to have at least 15 images for each tag, and you have to have a minimum of 2 tags. So I've got 16 bottles of beer on here that we produce, and I've got 16 bottles of water to throw the AI in a different direction. They're all being tagged as various areas, various tags. And then I'm able to train my bot. So I can start to practice, I can start to throw quick images in there to see if it gets it right and if it maybe needs retraining. So if we click on the performance, this is my URL. So it gives me my prediction URL, which is what we've added the tail end of into my JSON for my extension. And then we're able to package that up and upload that to Nintex Workflow Cloud. Now I won't go into how to build extensions in detail in this one, but essentially once we've got that JSON definition, my OpenAPI specification file, we can upload that, set the security if it hasn't been set in that file, upload a nice image to make it identifiable within the drag drop. And then we need to add a connection. So we have to connect to that specific service. So we're going to add a connection to that newly created extension. And then it is ready for me to use in my workflow as a drag drop action. So essentially what it's going to do is it's going to take that uploaded image, pass that up to Custom Vision and run the service. And then it's going to get a result in return. Now that result is quite a lengthy piece of comparison information. So what we're going to do is apply a regular expression over the top of all of that information. We're going to query that JSON that comes back. So we're going to retrieve the highest probability output, so a score that gets returned. And then using a condition, so a branch by condition, does the beer status that we got back from that piece of artificial intelligence, so from that custom vision call, is it beer or is it not beer? So is there a probability that it's going to be one of our bottles or not one of our bottles? Now, if I go to the Instances tab, we can actually have a look at what comes back from that custom vision AI. So if I click on my AI demo here and I can scroll down, this is what comes back. So this is my output instance detail. This is my output from my instance. Now there's a lot of information in there, but you'll see there's a probability score. So for each image that it compares it against, there's a probability score in there. And the highest probability is the one that we pull out using that regular expression. And we're going to compare that against whether that meets our condition within, is it one of our bottles? So moving on, we then are issuing the task. So if it is not our bottle of beer, then we're going to notify that person. We're going to update that Dynamics record as being closed off, and the case is closed because it doesn't match. But if it is, then we're going to receive it within the warehouse, approve that request, send the task to issue the credit note, update the record, and then exit out. Now, obviously, there's other things that we could do here. We're simply updating the record to move the status through, but what we could do here is add any sort of RPA, for instance, to update an on-premises stock management that we might have, or SAP, but the ability to do that. Now, finally, I just want to quickly show you the app that we built using Nintex App Studio for Big Beer Co. We wanted to make this mobile because it was a warehouse stock scenario. So popping that on an Android, connecting it to my underlying Nintex Workflow Cloud environment, adding my logos and any imagery or custom color scheme, and then uploading the one form that has been built as the start event within Nintex Workflow Cloud. So it was a really nice sort of use case to work on. I do want to thank Alex Burton for the work that he put into that. It was his initial demonstration, and we tweaked it for a Dynamics use case. So it's a great example of adding a little bit of artificial intelligence to a slightly different Nintex Workflow Cloud for Dynamics CRM use case. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.